And to that piece of lieutenant that's always on his podcast, bash us, him.
Happy Thanksgiving, baby.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. It looks like John might have caught a little bit of my bug. I don't know how through StreamYard, but how you feeling?
Yeah, I feel all right, man. I was playing poker last night. I don't know. I woke up this morning. My throat's killing me. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but I feel all right. I'm good. We could rock it through. I'm happy to be here. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving, Eric.
You weren't playing anything else, right?
No. Only chips would be an exchange. I was just giving my money to everybody. That was it.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Listen, we got friends, listeners to the podcast here. Spent a lot of time together. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. We'll keep it short today. We know you want to go out there and enjoy your families. So God bless everybody. I'm trying to make it through the show. But yeah, happy Thanksgiving. We got a lot of stuff going on. Let's get right into it, brother.
Yeah, so I mean, a couple of things. Do your kids like Bluey?
Not really.
Do you know what Bluey is? Well, that balloon, they were inflating it. They were inflating that balloon yesterday, and
I know Bluey.
And the balloon popped. So, but they fixed it. They didn't think they were going to be able to get it back up, but they actually fixed it and got it back up. So, like, I think that was going to be a big attraction that they were worried about not having. So, how many Thanksgiving parades did you do? Did you ever work the parade?
Dude, I worked every parade. Thanksgiving parade is actually pretty decent. Out of all the parades, I worked Westing Day Parade, Thanksgiving Day Parade, you name it. All those, especially when I was in the Lower East Side, there's always a parade and a way to make money. But so Jesse James says, figure Eric would take the RV down the route. A couple of people asking if we're going to the parade. Are you getting detailed out there today?
No, I'm not. I'll be honest, I never really minded that parade. It wasn't bad. The only reason it would be bad is if you were like traveling or if you had to go far, like, if I was supposed to go to like Long Island or something, then I wouldn't make it. But other than that, I mean, if I was just on Staten Island, if I was in the city, like my family was there, I was home for Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? You would do that parade. It was a good day. I never really had a problem doing the parade. I'll be honest though, I never attended it. Like when I wasn't working, I never attended the parade. I'd rather be home. I watched it every year. If I didn't work it, I watched it or I was there. You ever attended?
You mean that's what Thanksgiving Day parade without working? No, same thing as you. I watch it on TV. I did for many years the Veterans Parade. I would go every year. When I was living in New York, I went every year. And I would go with different organizations. That was awesome. I never went to the Veterans Day Parade, though, with the PD. When they would go to One Police Plaza, never. I always went with different veteran organizations, and I would see them come in uniform. I'm like, hell no. Because we were out there drinking, having a good time. We were on the parade, stop at a bar. I'm like, I don't want to be in uniform, be held down to that. Nah, we're having a good time.
Yeah, two Steph. But no, Thanksgiving Day Parade, Paulie, New York City beat 58-96. He says it's pouring in New York. Staying home, thank God. Yeah, I heard it was supposed to be downpours. They were expecting it, actually. I don't know if it's good for the drought that you guys are having. I assume it is. I assume any rain's good. It'll definitely be good to keep the protesters away because I know they were expecting a lot of nonsense today. But I mean, I think every year, like I thought that parade was very well run. Some of the de Blasio years, though, I started questioning like how many people we have. Why do we have so few people at this detail? We didn't have any like secondary units like off the parade route. They started depleting it a little. I thought it was a dumb move. I don't know how it's been. I haven't been there. I haven't been to the parade obviously in 3 years. But yeah, I always enjoyed it. I mean, I remember. You ever run into the first time I ever ran into Warby? You ever run into Captain Warby? I think he's an inspector now.
Oh yeah, that's the guy that was all over the radio. Oh my god,
hysterical. He was no. He's actually a good dude. He was I know. He's actually a good dude. He was like the first time I run into him at Thanksgiving Day Parade. I think I was still a cop, and he comes up to me and he's like, I think he was a lieutenant, and he's like, "Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here." So I think that like he's being like an ass with me. So I was like, yeah, no. And I'm like looking at him. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And then I'm looking at him, and he's going to all of the parade goers, and he's shaking everybody's hand. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. And I'm like, I think this guy's legit. So I asked somebody, I was like, who is that guy? And they're like, oh, that's Warby. That's how he is. He's hysterical. Like he was thanking everyone on the parade the whole way up. And I was like, you know what? I was like, this is a great guy to have at the Thanksgiving Day parade, because he was truly thankful to be there. He was truly thankful for the people that were working under him. And he was like really thankful for the parade goers. Like he was like, I at first took it because, like, you know, you got the New York mentality, like, who's this guy, like, telling me thank you for being here. And then I'm like, oh my God, he was really meant it. It was like, it was wild, you know. So yeah, I mean, I think, you know, a lot of times, you know, some of these details you get pissed because you got shit you want to do, right? If you want to do with your kids, especially when you had kids. I never cared when I was single, but when I had kids, I started wanting to be home for Christmas Eve. You know, I never cared when I was single, and but I mean, they're good days, and they don't last. You know, when you get stuck at work, they're good days. They don't last. You know, you're not gonna be working Christmas for the rest of your life. You're not gonna be working Thanksgiving the rest of your life. Enjoy it while you're there. You know.
Oh no, same thing. I actually had fun working Thanksgiving, but I saw over the years it started to deteriorate. I guess because the union started giving money to all the people that are in opposition to police. But years ago, I remember, you know, working 4 to 12. You know, as a cop in the 120 precinct, I remember they would bring so much food. The union would bring food. It was actually a good time. Those were the good times. That was a long time ago. But over the years, I started to see less food come from the unions. It wasn't the same. We all know. Eddie West, shout out to you, brother. 28. That's right. Put your 28s in today. Be here at the podcast. Make sure you post change. Thank you so much, Coffee and Donuts. Good morning, Lieutenants. Happy Thanksgiving to all. Submitting my 28 to the finest desk. Absolutely, brother. Approved. Any predictions for NYPD under Tish? We're going to get right into that, brother. We actually got a great interview with Tish on her first day, and there's a lot of stuff going on there. There's a lot for our teeth to sink into. I'm sure Juju's not going to like it. Juju was kind of quiet yesterday, by the way. Very, very particular.
Yeah, a lot of people had a lot to say about that, right? A lot of people noticed that.
Predictions on personnel changes. Will Tish and Adams clash? Keurig Coffee and Donuts at a podcast. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. You know, it's really questionable. Juju, you were there all day yesterday. We were talking about the report on the CRT team, the best team ever created. We didn't hear anything. Quite interesting.
Yeah, but no. So listen, we all got a lot to be thankful for. I think whatever you're doing, you're retired, you're at work. Whatever it is, you know, it's a good day of reflection. You know, I think somebody said talking about the past is the lowest form of conversation. I agree. If you're sitting around glory days, talking about glory days, I agree. It could get stale. It could get old. You're not looking ahead. You're not looking to the future. You're not planning on what it is. It kind of takes you out of the realm, like be in the moment. But I think a good reflection of the past, and I think that's what a holiday like Thanksgiving is, and I think it's good to reflect on the past, and I think it's good to be in the moment and be thankful for what you have as well, right? You think about all your past victories, your past mistakes, and we have the ability to improve on that, and then to be thankful for everything we have, right? Like at some point, wherever you are in life, whether you're happy at night, at some point in life, you were praying to be where you are. You know, and I remember that totally. I remember being a rookie, getting stuck, working every weekend, doing every detail across New York City, never doing anything. But I remember reflecting and saying, remember taking the city bus everywhere because I couldn't afford a car, and taking the city bus to work, taking the train to work, doing all these things. And I'm like, at some point, I prayed that I would be a police officer, and here I am. So I got to be thankful for that. You know what I mean? And so I think Thanksgiving's a great holiday. Like I said, I'm not a big on the food for Thanksgiving, but I think it's a good holiday. It's a good time for reflection. I think wherever you are, you know, you should be thankful because we live in the greatest country in the world. We have a lot more than a lot of people. All terrible stories, they're horrible. You know, we all have tragedy in our lives. We all have bad things. But when you look at all your blessings and you count them, you got to be happy. You know, you got to be happy. You got to stay focused, and you got to stay thankful.
I just want to say, you know, shout out to Eddie West, because some of these questions here are great questions. And when we play the interview that Tish had on her first day, with Good Day New York, her first day as a commissioner. There was a lot of telltale signs there. There's a lot of information where she's towing the line, she's pandering to Eric Adams, and it's really indicative. She says something in the interview, and you have to say to yourself, did she misspeak? Or was that actually the truth? And you'll see it, right? In this interview, she's about to refer to Eric Adams, but she refers to Commissioner Bratton. So, as getting the phone call, acknowledging that she's the commissioner. So, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that you just can't hide. So, and it really comes through in this interview. VSS Venturas, shout out to you, brother. Happy Thanksgiving, even to Comrade John. He did say you were communist. You will be sent to Gulag for slandering the turkey, giving thanks for what matters in most in life. Absolutely. Listen, now that I'm on the road, traveling by RV, it's outstanding. It's awesome. The only thing is I'm away from family, so I'm not getting together with all my family at Thanksgiving. A lot of them are going to come out for Christmas. So I'm going to have a Jewish Christmas. I'm going to have, family come out to wherever I'm out traveling. But for Thanksgiving, I met a lot of other families with the RV. So we had a Friendsgiving yesterday. So it was pretty cool. Everybody brought out food outside. Kids were playing together. Really cool. I tell you, the RV, you meet some of the nicest people. It's different than when you're living in a neighborhood because people don't talk to each other, right? When you live in a neighborhood, you say hello, goodbye. You don't want to be bogged down with your neighbors. But when you're in the RV, you actually talk to your neighbors because you're only there for 2 or 3 weeks or maybe a week. So people get friendly and then you drive away. Like, all right, see you later. And then if you don't like your neighbor, you can just pick up your trailer, pick up your car, pick up your RV, just drive away. So it's awesome. Patrick Donahue, shout out to you, brother. $9.99 to the podcast. More coffee and donuts and Theraflu. You're right, brother. Theraflu and Mucinex in lieu of coffee and donuts for Eric and Zion. I'm taking lost time at 9:30 to head to the Turkey Bowl in the Bronx. Shout out to you, brother. You've been a great friend to the podcast. I appreciate it. Definitely getting better. For some reason, every time I get a cold, my voice goes to shit. So, but I'm going to strive through it. We're tough, we're warriors, so thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of RV life, Eric, a lot of people have been emailing, messaging on the thing, asking for you to do your own thing around the RV. So let's all push Eric to make some videos, show us how to trailer this thing, hook up his stuff, block your plate out. But other than that, yeah. So a lot of people have been asking for that, like, little RV life. See how
I was thinking about doing that, like just giving out some tips because I had to fix so much stuff. It's like having a boat; you're always fixing something. So, if people get into it, I can tell you, how to fix stuff with your heater, whatever. You just, you figure things out. You're always having to seal stuff with silicone. But yeah, I love it. It's a lot of fun. It's really cool. AJ, shout out to you, brother. $4.99 to the podcast. Says this is our Cheers, a place where everybody knows your name, where the troubles are all the same. Juju, you are our Fraser. Thanks for the podcast. Yeah, thank you, brother. AJ, shout out to you. Hope you're enjoying Texas. So, John, let's get right into it.
Yeah, so all right, they were expecting some protesters today. Adams again, and new MAGA Eric Adams. He's saying he called the potential Thanksgiving protesters Grinches, and he vowed no tolerance. Like I said, sometimes I think Eric says the right things. I really do. I think the mayor says the right things sometimes. Obviously, this was last year where they glued themselves to the parade route. Again, it's pouring. I don't think they, traditionally, these protesters don't come out in bad weather. They traditionally don't come out, early in the morning. So I don't think we're going to see too many protesters today if it's pouring, raining. But even if they did, even with the protest settlement agreement, even with all the poor, weak leadership atop, I'm going to say that I have faith that it won't last long and they're not going to interrupt the parade for that long. I think you see how the police can act and how powerful they are, especially the NYPD in times like this. There's a parade route and they don't want to deal with it. They don't want any nonsense. They will move in like this and quell the situation, and that those parades will keep going, the float will keep going, the bands will keep playing, and you can see exactly what the New York City Police Department's capable of on these big days, these New Year's, these Thanksgiving, and I don't think it matters about who really sits up top. I don't think it matters.
I got to say, shout out to Mark DeMac. He says their moms don't let them out of their house. Absolutely right. Most of these people, they live in mommy's basement. These people don't have jobs. That's why they have the time to go out there and protest. Jesse James, shout out to you. More coffee and donuts. Salute you, brother. Happy Thanksgiving. $4.99 to the podcast. We appreciate it. Hell of a Thanksgiving. Thank you so much.
Yeah, but what do you think about that? Do you still have faith in the New York City Police Department in times like this? We're actually, not only were they expecting protesters, they're also expecting a terrorist attack. Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is seen as a terrorist target, but it's always been seen as a terrorist target. I think traditionally the parade's always been seen as a terrorist target. Whether it's pop-up protests, whether it's credible threats of terrorism, and then we say every year there's not credible threats of terrorism, and I think that's such a lie, because I think every moment in New York City there are credible threats of terrorism. But I think what the department and what New York City is trying to say is, like, you shouldn't not live your life. Do you have faith in the rank and file, the sergeants, the lieutenants, the people creating the detailed plans? That they're basically plug and play at this point. These plans, we've been doing them over 100 years. Do you still have faith that in the New York City Police Department with the inept leadership?
I do. I mean, listen, the bottom line is the rank and file. They know the plays. They know the playbook. We talk about New York's the default position for New York City's corruption, but the default position for NYPD is dealing with mass people. Just the volume of it, right? Is the training in the NYPD the best in itself? Not necessarily. I wouldn't say it's great training. But what is amazing about the NYPD is the volume of work that you do is what gets you hands-on training. The actual work that you do and deal with mass people. There's nobody better in the business than the NYPD, than any police department in the entire world when it comes to moving people. The skills, the ability that we've learned to move people and maneuvering people is vast. And it's something that we've been doing for years. So even with inept leadership, I think the rank and file can do it. And they show that. They show when the police department wants to step up in action, they can handle it. Parades are always soft targets for foreign terrorism and also domestic terrorism. But I think police department, the rank and file, is absolutely capable to do it, even with inept leadership, because that's just the bread and butter of being an NYPD. What do you think?
I agree. Shout out to Jesse James, donated $4.99 to the podcast. Happy Thanksgiving, Jesse. Thank you for always being here. Appreciate you, brother. But yeah, no, I agree. Actually, Fox called me for this one. They got about 10,000 marchers, 2 million in-person spectators expected this year. Even with the rain, 2 million people. So investigators, get in the article real quick. Investigators behind a joint threat assessment from the NYPD and FBI are warning that terrorists from home and afar may target the 2024 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is expected to attract 2 million in-person spectators from around the state, a national audience on TV, and about 10,000 marchers are slated to participate. This year, rehearsal photos from Sioux Falls Lincoln Patriot Marching Band from South Dakota, the Minuteman Marching Band, the University of Massachusetts, Amherst high schoolers from Georgia, New Jersey, Arizona, Texas-based Spirit of America. So it's really, it's in America's parade, The men and women of the NYPD are looking forward to hosting millions of spectators who will attend this week's Thanksgiving-related festivities, Deputy Commissioner Tariq Shepard told Fox News. And while there are currently no credible specific threats to any individual event or to New York City in general, the police department will continue partnering with our state and federal colleagues to ensure a safe and enjoyable holiday season for the people we serve. But domestic and foreign terrorists may find the parade to be an appealing soft target, according to the assessment first obtained by ABC News. Though the 2024 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade event will provide a broad set of potential soft targets for an attack, congested areas where the largest amount of people gather, particularly designated viewing areas, are likely the most vulnerable spots for a mass casualty attack, according to the outlet. So what they're talking about is, obviously on the parade route, and this is why they always say, if you see something, say something. So obviously, like what we saw at the parade at the Boston Marathon, that's always a potential. Someone placing a bag down and walking away, and there be, God forbid, something explosive in there that can injure and maim tons of people, cause a stampede. These are concerns at every major event. I mean, not even just in New York City. You go to a concert, you go to a sporting event. These are the things you need to look out for. Those people that don't fit in, those faces that don't fit in. You're on the parade route, and everybody's smiling, everybody's there. And it's happened to me actually at the Thanksgiving Day parade, where I was like scanning the crowd. Everybody's having a good time. The floats are coming by, and I just see this one dude staring at me, staring at my guys, and I'm like, that guy doesn't fit in. So I asked one of my guys, and he was holding a bag, actually. He was making me nervous. And one of my guys actually came over to me, and he's like, do you see this guy here? And he was like, had his back to the guy, and he was talking to me. And I was like, yeah, I'm staring at him right now, And he's like, he does not look right. I was like, nah, he doesn't. So I was like, do me a favor, walk. I was like, I'm going to keep eye contact with him, walk around and get up to him, and let's see what he's got. And turned out he was just an EDP, and he had nothing. And he was just a wacko. He was just staring at the police. But, it's things like that you got to be cognizant of, not only as a police officer, but as a parade goer, as an event goer. I mean, that's what you're looking for. You're looking, because in those situations, you are soft targets, unfortunately. It's just the reality we live in.
Well, I'll say this also. It's not only is it the NYPD, the majority is because the NYPD is outstanding when it comes to maneuvering people. That is definitely when it comes to the NYPD, we are unmatched. And we're retired. For who's working right now, you are unmatched by your peers, by fellow police departments on how to maneuver people. There's no doubt about it. Now, with that being said, also there is a different dynamic to being in New York. I traveled throughout the entire world, and people in New York are different. People in New York are not shy. They're not afraid to speak up. Where I've been to a lot of places, and people are very polite with each other, and sometimes they're kind of shy to not be polite. I made doing the RV stuff. I made a great buddy who's from Texas, and we were talking the other day, and I said, what's the difference between Texas and New York? I said, you guys are so nice to people up front, and right away you trust people, and in order for that friendship to go bad, they have to lose your trust. I said, the difference is in New York, you have to earn my trust, and then we become friends. And he said, you know what, you're right. So we hit it off, but that's kind of, I think, what helps also is people in New York are not shy. They just be like, hey, buddy, see that over there? Or this is going on. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people in New York talk too much, and they call the police too often, but they're not afraid to speak up either. So there is an interesting dynamic there. I want to address this one comment here. Let me see if I can. I am Squeaky Wheel. I don't know if it's a new friend to the podcast. It's a good question. I often wonder. Oh no, this is another one. Where is this? Where is the good question they had here? It was about training. Let's see. Here we go. You did say that training isn't the best, and the NYPD learns most of their stuff on the job while doing the job. That means mistakes will be made. Would it be better to have trained professionals? No, that's a great question. Of course. And the point is, John and I have always said we're huge advocates, and we're supporting the rank and file. Cops need better training. They need more training. There's no doubt about it. And I'm a big advocate. I talked about it. We even talked about training here. And sure enough, we see seminars pop up within the police department. They obviously took our advice. There's never, let's get this straight, never enough training. I don't care if you're the top trained department in the entire world, top trained person in your sport, your profession. There's never enough training. But police departments throughout the globe are never getting enough training because when it comes to funding. But it happens to be a byproduct. The NYPD deals with so much volume that is training also. Are mistakes going to be made? Yes. That's why we always need better training. But I would say the NYPD is the most restrained police department. And I don't have the data, but I would say just by the naked eye and observation makes the least amount of mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, listen, mistakes are going to be made from highly trained professionals. Mistakes are always going to be made. I'm going to agree with you, Eric, 100%. I don't think the training is the best, but I also agree that I don't think the training can be the best, especially when you're talking in such a dynamic, large city. It's not like you're covering a square mile. We're covering a huge, large, dynamic city, millions of people coming through. I think the best training you're going to get is on-the-job training, and that is why retaining experience in the NYPD is so important. I don't know if Ron Layson remembers this, and I don't even think I ever spoke with Ron about this, but I had 4, 2, and 8 as my post, 42nd Street and 8th Avenue as my post. I think like 5 years for New Year's Eve, 5 years. So I'm like an expert on doing New Year's at 42nd Street and 8th Avenue. So I get an IAB captain in charge of the detail that year. I'm a sergeant. I have it's me and 8 cops. They give me 4, 2, and 8. If anybody's familiar with that, there's a train station, there's a bus station. You're going to get a funnel. It's literally the funnel to get down to the ball. And you're going to get probably about 2 million people come down that block that are going to want to get to that ball. Plus, you're going to have, that is the pathway for emergency vehicles. They give me 8 cops and wooden barriers. And I'm like, I've had the unlucky or the lucky ability to have that post. And I'm like, I know for a fact, this is not how this post works. I need metal barriers wrapping the bus station and the train station. I needed to wrap metal barriers all around 8th Avenue, all the way up 42nd Street, come into the middle of the street, and I need to keep the street clear of any people and keep the traffic flowing, keeping everybody walking so that nobody gets trampled, people don't get muffled there, it doesn't create a pushing situation. So I tell the captain immediately, I was like, listen, Cap, I was like, I need metal barriers here. I was like, honestly, this isn't enough guys. I said, but I need metal barriers. Like I can't have it. And I'll never forget, the captain looks at me and he goes, they said metal barriers. I was like, all right, Cap, I don't know who they are, but I'm telling you, I had this post as a cop. I've had this post as a sergeant. I'm telling you, this is bad. There's going to be 2 million people coming down here in about 3 hours, and we're going to have a big problem. I'm going to lose the street. And he looks at me and walks away. I was like, okay. And I was like, all right, whatever. I didn't have no guys that I knew that was with me. I was like, whatever. I was like, no problem. So sure enough, starts getting busy. Boom, I lose the street. Metal barriers are going all over the place. Ron Layson comes. Ron Layson's the inspector. Ron Layson says, what's going on here? I said, boss, I've done this post a million times. I'm telling you, we need to get metal barriers. We wrap the bus station. We come up 42nd Street. We come up 42nd Street. We get it halfway in the middle. I'll keep guys posted there. I'm like, I don't even need any more cops. I just need these barriers. Like, there's no way to contain this. So Ron Layson gets us the barriers, and he gets me 2 other sergeants, about 16 other cops, and we take the metal barriers, like 300, and we all line up with the metal barriers. And now we have to form what we need to do by like literally pushing people and then get it to where it flows so that nobody's going to get injured. Nobody's going to get hurt. And, and that comes from experience. There's no way you could train people on every single post. It's just not plausible. It's not possible. You're not going to be able to do that. All right, on 4, 2, and 8, this is how we do it. On 3, 4, and this is how we're going to do it. You're not going to be able to break down such a large mass scale parade and train every single body that you're going to have there. It's just not going to happen. That's where experience comes into play. That's where good leadership like Ron Layson comes into play. That's where trust in your men and women and having the experience. So, and I think anyone that did that post now with me or with Ron, guess what? They're trained. They know that post. That post is gonna work flawlessly next New Year's Eve.
Outstanding. Shout out to Ron Layson when it comes to that. We always say that, right? To be an effective and good leader, what you have to be able to do is you have to acknowledge your people and give them the tools and resources so that they can actually be successful. And that's what he did. He allowed you to get those resources and those tools. And I agree. You can't be trained in everything. That's why you have to have the ability, and I think the NYPD, the rank and file, have it, is to overcome and adapt. Overcome situations and adapt. That comes with experience. And because of the mass volume that you deal with in the NYPD, you learn the ability to be flexible, to manipulate and maneuver, to overcome and adapt to situations. And that's where I would have a problem when it comes to the CCRB. It's sometimes utilizing different tools or different training or different tactics that may not be actually in the book and say, well, this is conducive to this situation. This patrol guide doesn't acknowledge every situation, but you learn the ability to overcome and adapt to the situation, use the tools and resources that are in and around you. But unfortunately, they could not understand that. Rich Raj, shout out to you, brother. $20 at a podcast. Always dipping this podcast. Going to have a lot of coffee and donuts. Going to be fat by the end of this podcast. Happy Thanksgiving, John, Eric, and everyone on the channel. Shout out. We're building a network of you, friends and listeners on the podcast. I guess it's not going to be just sitting friends. It's going to be the finest unfiltered of friends. So, Juju, you're a friend too. Actually, I think it was Eddie Nunez who said Juju's probably on the parade route right now. Listen to the podcast while he's doing a parade. So shout out to you, Juju.
Yeah. Before we go further in this article, I just Trump just put out a tweet. Here we go. Mean tweets. Bring back mean tweets, baby. So mean tweets are here. President-elect Donald J. Trump. Happy Thanksgiving to all, including to the radical left lunatics who have worked so hard to destroy our country, but who have failed miserably and will always fail because their ideas and policies are so hopelessly bad that the great people of our nation just gave a landslide victory to those who want to make America great again. Don't worry, our country will soon be respected, productive, fair, and strong, and you will be more than ever before proud to be an American. Hysterical. I missed the mean tweets. I'm glad Donald Trump's back giving his mean tweets. So yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I think he nailed it. You know, there's always going to be a correction period.
Make tweets mean again. That's it. Love it.
Hysterical. So yeah, we'll finish this article, then we'll bring in Jessica Tish. So an NYPD document reviewed by Fox News Digital shows the police were preparing for a range of potential threats, including homegrown domestic terrorists to foreign extremists, also non-terror criminals. Investigators noted that the Wisconsin Christmas parade attack in Waukesha, I can't say it, but in Korea, criminal Darrell Brooks Jr. plowed through lightweight barricades and then mowed down dozens of people, killing 6 and injuring more than 60. Investigators warned of a persistent terror threat from ISIS and Al-Qaeda. The authors found no specific threats to the parade. However, they urged caution and readiness. They warned of a possible vehicle attack like the Islamic State group-inspired truck attack on Manhattan Bicycle Path in 2017. In that incident, a radicalized lone wolf named Saulo Sayapov killed 8 and injured 13 more when he plowed into the victims with a rented flatbed truck. Sayapov was convicted and given 10 consecutive life sentences, plus another 260 years in prison. To mitigate similar attacks, authorities plan to block off intersections with garbage trucks and other obstacles, according to the assessment. The NYPD is used to operating under such a threat environment and has massive intelligence operation that includes collecting data at home and overseas. Last year, anti-Israel agitators disrupted the parade with chants and banners, and some of them even glued themselves to the street along the parade route. Israel's ongoing conflict with Hamas, an anti-Semitic terror group that attacked the Jewish state on October 7, 2023, has led to protests and heightened terror threats around the world. At a joint news briefing last week, New York Governor Kathy Hochul and Mayor Eric Adams said city and state police were both monitoring threats at home and abroad. Macy's first Thanksgiving Day parade was held 100 years ago on November 27, 1924. It has been held every year since, except during World War II. The NYPD has been providing security for the Thanksgiving Day parade since its inception, said John McCary, a retired NYPD lieutenant who worked the parade many times during his career. There are numerous concerns the NYPD has each year, ranging from traffic safety all the way up to, God forbid, acts of terrorism. Protests pop up, like last year's glue incident. Balloons have come loose in the wind with deadly consequences. I have full confidence the NYPD will ensure the safety of parade goers in the same way they always have, Macari said. So yeah, I mean, I stand by that. I think that that's exactly what it is. I think the NYPD does a great job. I have full confidence in it. I haven't been there, not because I don't want to go, and you know, there are times in the city where I'm like, I'm not going to the tree. I'm not taking my family to the tree. Like last year when we were getting those protests every night, I was like, I'm not dealing with it. And it was mainly because I didn't want to deal with the traffic more than I was worried about a specific threat. You know what I mean? I was like, I just don't want to be stuck in traffic with tons of protesters holding me up. And it take me, instead of something that should take me 45 minutes, take me 3 hours, you know?
Well, I think the bottom line is the NYPD always responds and initiates the plan for these parades as if there is a terrorist attack. And that's how we should always operate, especially in this post 9/11 world. So I think that, you know, people have to go live their lives. Absolutely. I think that's the greatest strength that we should show any potential terrorist group or terrorist potential attack anyway, is to show that we're free Americans and that we're going to live our lives, and we're not going to live our lives in fear. And that's the bottom line. That's why I say it's kind of like a coalition effort. The NYPD is outstanding, rank and file, when it comes to handling mass people and maneuvering people. But New York City people itself, it's a great dynamic. They're not shy. They're not afraid to speak up. And so when it comes to that, you know, there's no other place in the world, I think, that has that dynamic as New York City does. So it's definitely quite interesting. But you know, for everyone out there, happy Thanksgiving. Be safe out there, and even you, Juju. So when you listen to the podcast while you're walking the parade route, make sure you actually pay attention to situational awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. And happy Thanksgiving, Cafecito Break. She says, happy Thanksgiving, bros. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone in the chat and your loved one. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Thank you for all the work. Thank you for what you guys do. Cafecito Break, Teachers for Choice, Mike Kane, Guardians of Divinity, Bravest for Choice. They were all out in front of Lincoln Wrestler's office trying to get workers like Marlon Bethel back to work, reinstated, and allow them to continue their career. They're trying to push their council people to sign off on Resolution 5. You know, and I would hope that some of you guys do it too. Just keep pushing, you know. That's it. I'm fully confident we won this fight. However long it takes. We will be made whole. We were on the right side of history. They weren't. And everybody knows it. It's more than obvious at this point. So, I appreciate the fight that everybody has in them, and honestly, the compassion. But one thing, they were in front of Lincoln Wrestler's office, and I just got to bring this up because it annoyed me so much, really off topic. But they're in front of Lincoln Wrestler's office. One of Lincoln Wrestler's staffers comes out, right? She's like afraid of them. There's cops out there. There's firemen. They're completely respectful to her. Cozy Wellness was speaking for them. Cozy was speaking. Very respectful person. He wasn't agitated. He wasn't loud. He was just, he's like, hey, we're giving turkeys out for people who have no jobs, and we're just trying to get the councilman to sign off on Resolution 5. And the girl says to Cozy, she gives him her card, and she says, oh, do me a favor. Just email us, and we'll respond to you. So, like, this is a public servant. We elected. I didn't elect them, but somebody elected them. You people in Park Slope, I don't know why you elected Lincoln Wrestler, but they elect Lincoln Wrestler, and then Lincoln Wrestler gets a budget from your tax funds, and he hires staffers. And Lincoln Wrestler and his staffers' idea of public service is just email us your problem. And Lincoln Wrestler, who is very critical of the NYPD, when you watch these hearings, he has a lot to say about all these agencies and how they should operate and how they should deal with the public and taxpayer funds, how they're used and if they're not being used appropriately. And then you go to his office and you have a human being in front of you telling you, email me what you have to say. It's like, is that public service? That doesn't look like humanity to me. It doesn't look like compassion to me. That doesn't. Imagine if a NYPD cop did that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're mad about something? Yeah. You do me a favor. Just send me an email, right? Are you kidding me?
That's a great point. I mean, think about it. If you want to make a complaint to a cop, they've made it possible that it's pretty much impossible that you can't make that complaint. You could call. You could go in person. You can email, you can go to one police plaza and you can make a complaint about somebody in the 7-9 precinct. You can go to any precinct and make a complaint about somebody, but yet you have an actual complaint and you're going to the right person and then they send you away by email. It's funny, right? Because the same people are so critical of the NYPD, so critical of what a police officer has to deal with, of having thick skin and the complaints that are brought up against them, but yet they can't handle it themselves and they can't address one situation and they want to pawn it off and say, here, send us an email. Now, I like to segue, and I just want to get into this. I think this is quite interesting. We talked about parades. We talked about potential terrorist attacks. We talked about Hamas. We talked about pro-Israel, anti-Israel, all the anti-Semitic stuff. And yet, we haven't heard Eric Adams say, all we heard is Jessica Tisch is the second female to take the position of police commissioner. Now, I don't agree. I don't necessarily agree with everything about her being police commissioner. But I think what's quite interesting is that she's the first Jewish female commissioner, while there's so much anti-Semitism going up, and we can say pro-Israel, pro-Palestine. Why isn't Eric Adams saying, hey, not only are we going to stand against these anti-Zionists, we're going to stand up to these, people that are trying to create havoc and who are anti-Semitic, and that we don't stand for that we've actually appointed a Jewish female to a police commissioner. But we haven't heard that at all. I think that's quite interesting, John. I think that they've totally have separated themselves from that identity, and she's become the second female. She's the second female, that's correct, but she's a white, Jewish, billionaire female heiress who's not a police officer. First of many and a first of any.
Cheers to Mary Dow drinking out of her finest Unfiltered mug, and I prayers for your son, and thank him for keeping everybody safe. Appreciate it. I mean, that's why I said that. It was the first thing I noticed. I was like, wait a minute. We celebrate every single thing in New York City, and I have no problem with it, right? They're talking about her chief of staff now. Chief of staff Ryan Marola. I think he was a uniform cop for like 4 years. I could be mistaken, but I think he was. I think he was a uniform cop. Then civilian. Then he was like, rocket fuel to become a chief of staff in ITB. Rocket fuel to become a deputy commissioner in sanitation. Do it in sanitation. And now he's chief of staff for Tisch. First openly gay chief of staff. Okay, great. I have no problem with it. I don't care. But why do you celebrate that and you don't celebrate the other thing? Now, you don't celebrate the fact that she is the first female Jewish police commissioner. I think it's something, and I think it's because, he doesn't want to agitate. He doesn't want to agitate protesters. He doesn't want to agitate the people that he says he'll have no tolerance against. I think he bows down a lot. I do. I think he talks tough sometimes, but if you see a lot of the things he avoids, and this is one of them. She had her Jewish star on her neck. She had her grandmother's Bible there. She openly professed her faith upon being appointed and at her speech. I think that, I think it's a slight to the Jewish community. And that's why I brought it up. Like, if I'm not even Jewish and I'm offended by it, because I'm saying and my reality is if we're going to celebrate gender, if we're going to celebrate religion, if we're going to celebrate who you sleep with at night, if we're going to celebrate your skin color, if we're going to do all of these things, then we have to celebrate everybody. We got it. We can't be like, yeah, you know what? That one's not that comfortable, though. It's not a good time right now. It's like, you know what he did? He did what Kamala Harris did. You know what? I should pick Josh Shapiro for my VP. He's the best choice. But, he's Jewish, and it's just not a good time right now. That's what Eric Adams did. He's like, I picked her for the police commissioner, but let's not talk about the fact that she's the first female Jewish police commissioner. Let's not highlight that fact. Let's just say she's the second woman to do the department.
Look, Juju says it right here. Juju shows that, he and his cohorts are towing the line. Juju says because it will bring unnecessary drama, Eric. So that is total BS, and I'll tell you why. So if this first openly gay chief of staff, if there was gay bashings right now, if there were people out there going out committing assaults to gay people, unwarranted, committing hate crimes, will we not openly speak out that that the chief of staff is gay? We're going to hide that. bow down to other people and pretend that he's not gay because we don't want drama? That's absolutely ridiculous. No, we should say, you know what? You're going out there, you're assaulting gay people. Our chief of staff is openly gay and support him. Same thing as Jessica Tisch. You know what? We have people out there that are committing violent acts against Jews. We have a Jewish police commissioner. Stand proud, stand tall, stand strong. I don't believe that at all, Juju, and neither do you. That's actually total BS. And if you do believe that, Juju, you got a bigger problem.
Yeah. So again, I think it just shows, some people could be celebrated and some people can't. And that's it. Some people could be celebrated and some people can't. And that's a damn shame, and we shouldn't allow it. And honestly, Jessica Tisch shouldn't allow it. The Jewish community shouldn't allow it, and the Tisch family shouldn't allow it. She is the first female Jewish police commissioner. That is it. She's not the second of anything. She's the first. She is the second, but she's the first. She's also the first Caucasian female too to hold the rank of police commissioner. Why is it not okay to celebrate that she's a Caucasian? I don't understand why what this leftist narrative is. In my opinion, I think we should just celebrate that Jessica Tisch is the police commissioner. If we're going to celebrate anything, we should celebrate people as individuals, because what they're trying to do is pick out the ultimate minority, and the ultimate minority is the individual. And that's it. So anyone that you pick for anything, that person in itself should be celebrated, not their heritage, not who they sleep with at night. That person as a complete, total, utter individual. The individual is the ultimate minority. You will never get two of the same people. So it is what it is. Like, and like this whole thing is it's tribalism. It's divisive. But while we're doing it, do it for everybody, Eric. Don't just do it for the people that you think it's comfortable for. He always touting his firsts, but he doesn't. He's got a lot of firsts that he doesn't bring up. And some of them I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to be the first mayor with 4 police commissioners in term. I wouldn't want to be the first indicted mayor in New York City. I wouldn't want to be the first. He's got a lot of firsts like that I probably wouldn't celebrate either. But we do. We celebrate him here on this podcast. So.
I think it's also quite interesting. So I've watched different news channels and talk about Jessica Tisch's appointment, and when they refer to her, they compare her to her predecessors and how she's going to move forward. But every time I see they mention the predecessors, they only mention Key Chan Sewell and Ed Caban, and they forget to mention Tom Donlin. So it's quite interesting. It was so insignificant that they don't even mention him. I think it was kind of insulting and a slap in the face. I mean, he did spend 2 months as the police commissioner. He did fit that role, interim or not. He was the police commissioner, but totally glazed over. But again, I don't believe in DI at all. We should be celebrating Jessica Tisch's path in life, her career, her academics, her ability to do this job. What was her ability doing the job before that led her doing the ability now? Who cares if she's Jewish, rich, poor? But the reason why we mention this is to highlight the fact that it all comes down to labeling. But why is it not appropriate to label Jessica Tisch as a white Jewish female billionaire heiress? But it's okay to say she's the second female. So there's certain depictions that we can speak about and certain that we can't. And that's wrong. It's absolutely ridiculous. I don't care if someone's gay. I don't care what your color is. We shouldn't be mentioned at all. But since it's mentioned, this should be a fair playing field and it should be level playing field. But it's not.
Oh, yeah, I agree. So, all right. So let's get into Jessica Tisch. First day on the job. It's not her first day anymore. First Thanksgiving on the job as police commissioner. It's an interview she did with Fox 5. And then let's start to wrap this up after, and everybody go enjoy that Thanksgiving. But let's take a look. Let's give a little analysis of this because there is a lot here. So let's go. All right. Fox 5 interview, Jessica Tisch.
Mike, thank you very much. Well, from New York's strongest to New York's finest, Jessica Tisch is officially the commissioner of the New York City Police Department.
She is leading the largest police department in the country. She's the second woman to hold the position. No pressure. Joining us this morning, NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch. It's her first interview live on morning TV. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what are you going to do today? First full day.
Oh, we have a busy day. Of course, I'm starting my day here with you, first full day on the job. And then I'm really looking forward to getting back to the office, to meeting with the command staff, to going out to the field. Yesterday, I visited my first precinct. I did a roll call there. I was in Brooklyn at the 8-4, and it was just so great to be with the cops, to tell them I have their backs, that I'm going to support them, and that we're proud of the very hard work that they're doing.
Well, speaking of having their backs, and I know you know this, you know, a lot of them are leaving, some are retiring, some are moving somewhere else. They've just been demoralized over the last few years. How will you, bring this department back together again?
Well, there's a few things we can do and we will do. The first thing is the night that that Mayor Adams called to tell me that I was going to be police commissioner, he also gave me another piece of great news. And that's that we were getting 1,600 additional police officers in our ranks in the year 2025.
First impressions, Eric.
So that's exactly what was alluded to before. Did she misspeak, or is that the truth? Was it Commissioner Bratton, or former Commissioner Bratton, who actually called her? So it's a lot of telltale signs right here, right? There's a lot of stuff that's in your head that you just can't hide. So it's obvious to me that Bill Bratton, which we said before, we assumed and we made the assumption that he's behind the scenes. Clearly, Bill Bratton is behind the scenes. Clearly, he's going to be her advisor. Clearly, he's going to be a quasi-commissioner. It's just sort of going to work out like to me. It seems like this might be the same dynamics we had with Philip Banks. She's the commissioner, but really, it seems like Bill Bratton's going to be calling the shots. So to me, that was a telltale sign. What do you think?
I think that Bratton, I think it's a good thing. I like that Bratton's in the background. I don't agree with him politically. I think his second term, I think he really showed how political the police commissioners are. I put out a quote from him actually, where he was literally saying, although he says the police commissioner is not a politician, he basically says the police commissioner is a politician. You have to toe the line with the mayor you work for. But just first impressions with her, I think she's a far better speaker than Tom Donilon. I think she's a far better speaker than Ed Caban. I think she has a much larger presence than both of them. So I kind of like that. I like that she acknowledged, because Rosanna Scotto said that the NYPD is demoralized, that they're beaten up. That is a fact that if you said that to Kaz Daughtry on this, if you said that to John Schell, if you said that to Eric Adams, they will deny that fact. They will deny it. Jessica Tisch did not deny that fact. She shook her head. Yes, they are. That is a big step for me. That is something that's huge, I think, for the rank and file. I think I'm not going to gloss over that at all. I'm not going to gloss over that fact at all. The command staff of the NYPD has not acknowledged that in 3 years. They have not acknowledged it. Cops are good. Morale's good. I mean, how many memes have we done? How many videos have we done showing over and over and over again them saying morale's good, everything's great, people love it, and they focus in on while they're getting new cops. And she does that here. She falls back to, well, hey, we're going to get 1,600 people in 2025, right? And what the NYPD has been doing traditionally is celebrating the new guys and like, hey, we don't need John. We don't need Eric. These guys are overpaid. They're salty. They know too much. We can't mold them the way they got to be molded because, and we heard Tanya Meisenholder talk about it, right? Because we don't have the same values. The newer cops don't have the same values as the older cops. I mean, I'm total slight to all of us. And I'm like, to everybody and to the entire profession, even to the new guys. Because guess what? In a year or two, they're going to be the old guys, right? It's like, so she, as much as she falls back politically, as much as I believe this is a political appointment, I love that she acknowledged that morale is down and guys are beaten.
Well, there's no doubt about it, right? She's an academic. She comes from an elite family. She's well-spoken. Clearly, she has great poise and distinction. I think that she has a great presence. It's quite interesting, right? In the last police commissioners that we've seen, it's been the women that have shown the most poise, distinction, appearance, and professionalism, right? I think that Jessica Tisch, along with Key Chance, made a great impression for women that are professionals, right? They both came off with a strong presence, firm, fair, poise, and distinction. Now, she is an academic. I do like the fact that she said she wants to support the cops. She went to the 8th Basin. I think that's a great start. But when we talk about the politics of it, it's quite interesting. I do believe Bill Bratton is behind the scenes. I think that was just really what's going on in the subconscious, and it came out right there. But do I like her poise and distinction? Absolutely. It's a great presence. I think that that is extremely professional. She seems pretty stoic, and that I hope that trickles down to the police department if it does not get curbed by the three wise men at the top, Jeffrey Mandry, Kaz Daughtry, and John Shell. If they're allowed to penetrate, this could be beneficial to the department. JF Dodge, shout out to you. $9.99 to the podcast. More coffee and donuts. We appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone, except the haters and cucks who are flooding the live chat today. Yes, we got a couple of haters. We're pretty tolerable. We're just going to ignore them. So thank you so much, brothers. We appreciate it.
Well, hey, listen, J. Dot, we appreciate it, brother. But yeah, listen, we're thankful for the haters too, right? Like I always say, you got to love your haters, people. Love your haters. Don't be mad at them. Love them. The more they hate, the more you grow. You know, I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny watching Jake Paul the other day because he's been in national attention, I think, for years now, right? He's made millions and millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. And I thought it was funny. I watched an interview with him, and he said, he's like, it's weird for the first time now in my life, in my public life, that I actually have fans. He's like, people actually like me. And so he's been out here in the public eye, and he's never really had anybody that really liked him. You know, I'm sure like he had like young, like teeny bopper girls loving him, things like that. But he never really had like traditional fans that liked him as a person. It was all just hate. And look how far he went from hate. He's rivaling the UFC. He's rivaling the WWE. Hate pushed him all the way there. You just got to be tolerable enough to deal with it. So love your haters. So I appreciate you, Jonathan E. Rubin, Juju. Appreciate you guys. You know, thank you for being here. Happy Thanksgiving. God bless you and your families.
Absolutely. And remember, most of our haters hide behind fake names, monikers. We don't know what they look like. They don't show their faces. Let them talk. We appreciate it. You know, the hate makes us grow. But most important, we appreciate our friends and listeners. There's a space for all of us.
Yeah. So, you know, and Yvette says, do you want a speaker or do you want a leader? Listen, we haven't seen it. She's in charge. I ain't gonna smack her down until we see something. You know what I mean? I don't know. It is what it is. She's there. If she does something we like, we'll let you know. If she does something we don't like, you know we're gonna let you know. So it is what it is. We're just analyzing the interview. Shout out to Patrick Jordan, Chief Patrick Jordan out of LA. Bratton push for McDonald behind the scenes for LAPD. I guess it's good to be a kingmaker. Yeah, that's exactly what it appears like. And I think that Eric's right. I do think it was a Freudian slip. I do think Bratton called her to tell her she's going to be the PC. He seems to be consulting all of these Democrat cities on how they're going to move, basically in marketing. And by the way, Bill, you're doing a terrible job. I just got to be honest with you. No one's buying your bullcrap no more. It's bad. If you don't know, just look at when you post something. Just look at your Twitter feed, see what people are saying to you. So if you can't tell, so we could talk offline though about it. But yeah, I agree. So all right, let's go a little further in this interview. Let's see what she's got to say.
And that is going to make a big difference for our officers. They need the numbers. They are working outrageous amounts of overtime. They need to be able to balance their work and their lives. And this is really going to be a force multiplier and very helpful for morale in the department.
You know, you mentioned Commissioner Bratton there, and I know that Bratton, Dermot Shea, Ray Kelly, they were all at the swearing in yesterday. That must have been nice to see that they were all there to support you. What did you think?
Oh, it was overwhelming. I have been so blessed in my career to have access to the finest education anyone could dream of. But the opportunity to work directly for Ray Kelly and Bill Bratton, oh my God.
And we know that there are obviously very serious issues facing the city right now. One of the things that has plagued your predecessors, repeat offenders, often with mental health issues. who somehow find their way back onto the streets and are involved in these high-profile crimes. How do you think you're in a position to address this?
So let's discuss the mental health issue, because I understand that it is a real issue for safety and importantly also for the perception of safety. Addressing the mental health crisis is going to take an all-of-government approach. But I'll tell you what won't work. Pitting the notion of more cops against more services. No, that's fake. You need more of both. Absolutely. And the mayor has been very clear in his support.
Well, before we go forward, what do you think about that?
So there's where the problem is. Now, I think she's extremely intelligent, but I think that's where she starts to toe the line, and she's starting to play politics, where she starts to talk about crime, but then she throws in perception. So she's been fed perception versus truth, perception versus reality, and she managed to weave that in to show that, hey, we need services and we need cops, but we're also fighting perception. So this is where I thought in the beginning, it was the same as you. I thought, okay, she's an academic. She shows great poise, distinction. She looks super professional. She's making eye contact. Is she a good leader? We don't know yet. Yvette, great question. But right now we have to analyze, does she have the ability? Does she have the tools to actually be in a position to lead? And it appears that way. And she initially sounds like she cares. But now we see the politics start to really infect it. And that's where I see a problem, where she starts to talk about the perception, and she's towing the same line that we've been hearing from the Eric Adams administration.
So one, I like that she, and I said this before, the thing I like about her is the people she has access to, and I like that she appears to be humble to me. I listen, I know the stories about her. I know that she could get crazy in meetings. I know that, but I also know a lot of people that don't like her, but said she's a good manager and she's a good boss. I know a lot of people that worked for her that literally said, I am not a fan of her, but I think she's going to be a good piece of, and I had other people say the same thing. I'm not a fan of her, but I will work for her again. I think any boss, everybody has their kicks, and nobody's perfect. But if you're humble enough to take advice from the people you work for, and you're humble enough to seek advice from people you know are more experienced than you, Bill Bratton, Ray Kelly, Dermot Shea, I think you could be successful. I do. I think you could be successful. I think those people could bolster you up. I agree. You hear her talk about, the perception of mental health, but she doesn't blame the perception. She just says it's a problem for actual safety and it's a problem for the perception of safety. I agree with her. It is both. It is a problem, both of it. And she says, and I think that she kind of pushes back. I think that she is left-leaning, but she pushes back at the notion that she's like, I'm not going to get into the argument with people that we need more services and less cops, or more cops and less services. She says, we need both. And, and I agree to a point, because she kind of says that government's the answer. And that's the part where I disagree with her on. It's because it shows that her beliefs in government, which are more left-leaning belief, I believe, yes, we need cops. Yes, we need services, but we need the services that the people have came up with that say, listen, this is what works. Because what we've seen is government, particularly government in New York City, has failed us time and time again to the use of our taxpayer money for the billions of dollars we're wasting on the homeless, billions of dollars we're wasting on the mentally ill, and we're not providing actual services. The same thing you're seeing in Rikers, right? Did you just see that Rikers is now becoming under federal receivership? A judge is taking it away. That's less government. That's not more government. We need people. We need ideas. We need government and community working together to address these concerns. That's where I take a pause with her when she says that we need more government to solve this. I'm going to say, yes, we need good government to solve this. And good government involves the taxpayer. It involves the opinions of people. It involves the opinions of experts. It involves the opinions of all advocates, anti people that are against, You need all sides. You got to bring everyone to the table and come up with good ideas. I'm not just going to continue to be like, yeah, no, just get more cops and give more services, because that has failed us so much over and over again, and we see it.
I agree, because the services, especially the cops, do their job exemplary, but it's the after effect. It's the approach where things have already gotten to the point where someone's out there mentally ill, where they're out committing crimes. We have a emotionally disturbed homicidal maniac take 3 lives in one day. We actually need real services that are interceptive. And what that is, that comes down to community and culture. So we need less government. We need more community and more culture when it comes to that. The police do their job, but it's the after effect. The services that she's talking about is the after effect. We're not talking about intervention before these things get to that point. Popeye, damn it. Shout out to you, brother. $10 to the podcast, coffee and donuts. Maybe it's a little different. It's Thanksgiving. We'll have some turkey. Happy Turkey Day. Got to give the men their OT pay. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Self-funded podcast. This is really the only money that we make, honestly. I know John and I do a lot of research, and John does a lot behind the scenes when it comes to, putting these articles together. So, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. We really do. And that you put your hands in pockets. But we really do enjoy bringing this network together and talking about police work. It's a passion that we love, and it's part of our story. It's not the whole story. We've moved on into police media, which we believe is the new genre. We get to talk about police work and give our perspective. Just as John says, I think it's kind of funny, but it's true, right? We hear, people narrate football games. You narrate, commentators for basketball games. Well, we're commentating police work. So maybe one day, we'll start the path, and as people retire and we retire from police media, other people will take over and be commentators.
Hood Mayor wants to know if we sent her a Finest Unfiltered bumper sticker. Nah, but we're going to send her some stuff, definitely, So here we go.
Of legislation up in Albany that would give the cops more flexibility in how they get services for individuals in mental health crisis.
And so governor agrees with it. The mayor agrees with it. Obviously, you agree with it. I mean, how do you get that done?
So, my background obviously is not as a police officer. I never put on the uniform and walk the beat. But what I do have a lot of experience at is working across the aisle at the city level and at the state level to advance the priorities for New Yorkers. And that's what I intend to do in this job.
Can we talk a little bit about the migrant crisis? Lots of people want to know about migrant crime. There's been reports that it's very bad in the Times Square area. 3 out of 4 arrests are migrants. And then we're dealing with President-elect Trump talking about mass deportations when he gets into office. How will you handle that with the police department?
So, Rosanna, I fundamentally believe that most migrants coming to New York City are coming seeking a better life and to pursue the American dream, just as generations of immigrants have done before them. New York City is the greatest city in the world, largely because we are a city of immigrants. And our cops, a lot of them come from immigrant families. That said, if people come through the system and commit violent crime, it is unacceptable, just as it is unacceptable for any New Yorker to commit violent crime. And Mayor Adams has been clear that we won't tolerate it. Now, as for the numbers, what are the specific numbers? The real answer, I'm a data-driven person. This is my background.
Technology.
We don't know. And I'll tell you.
What do you think about that?
That's why I said, John, we got to talk about this, because there's so much going on here. There's so many layers to peel back. So first thing, she owns the fact that she was never a beat cop. She never wore the uniform. She never worked the streets. She never had to face that adversity. So I will acknowledge, and I will say it's good that she's owning that right away. And she talks about what her qualifications are on the city and state level when it comes to government, and how that will make her effective in her position, despite the fact being a cop. So I will definitely say kudos to her for doing that. But right immediately we start to see where this just completely goes south, and we see how politics is completely potentially going to infect her position as police commissioner. And I believe she's showing that she's towing the same line, and she's pandering to Eric Adams at this point. She goes on to say that fundamentally she believes, right? She's saying what she believes, right? Because she doesn't. She's claiming they don't have the data. Now we know technically the police department does not ask or inquire about someone's immigration status when they're under arrest. That is true. But I'm sure there is some data somewhere in the police department right now. You know, technically we don't know, but we know how many people are out there committing crimes, especially the fact that we have 20 or some odd robberies, maybe even more right now, committed by illegal alien juveniles known as Tren de Aragua, known as 42nd, what is it, Diablo Crew, whatever it is, little devils that are committing robberies, and they're all illegal juveniles. So we know that data. So we have some data. But she says that fundamentally she believes about the immigration process. And that's true. We all believe in that. We all believe we're either first generation or we're descendants of family that has come in here from Eastern Europe, other countries, Africa, whatever the case is. We all come from somewhere else, somewhere down the line. But people, our families, I know my family, worked so hard to get to this country, to go through the immigration status, to work hard to become a citizen. They didn't cross the border and come here illegally. They didn't come from the spoils of jails in South America. They didn't come from Tren de Aragua. So I don't know if fundamentally most of these people here are seeking a better life, or fundamentally, or most of the people that we hear right now are taking the opportunity to commit crime. And you said you don't have the data, so now you're going on your belief. So it's completely subjective, and it's toeing the line with Eric Adams. So, and then she says some of our cops are immigrants, and that's true. Marlon Bethel is an immigrant. He came from an immigrant family, and he's no longer a cop, and he's a highly skilled detective, and he didn't commit a crime. He should be a detective as we speak to this day. So this is where I see this start to go south, pan into Eric Adams, and that's where I see it going. Rob Marine, shout out to you, 1999 to the podcast, Coffee Donuts, we appreciate it. Salutations, guys. Haven't watched for a bit, but question for you guys. Don't you believe the issues the job is facing is chickens coming home to roost? It was blatant when Carrick got the job over a real cop. The rest downhill. You know, we talked about Carrick a lot on this podcast, and we believe that Carrick had the experience. He was commissioner of corrections. He was a cop. He did have the ability, exuberated leadership qualities, and that's what we need. It's great to be an academic, which she is. She has points of distinction. But being an academic, does that make you a police commissioner? Not necessarily. We're going to see. But I don't like what I'm hearing right now. I think it's just really toeing the line. What do you think, John?
Yeah, first, just on the Carrick thing, I think Carrick is way more qualified than basically every appointment that we've seen. All the 4 police commissioners that Adams put in, Carrick blows them out of the water. I mean, I you know, that appointment, you know, and again, a lot of people don't know that he was chief of department for like a 600-man corrections department before he even took the job. He left that to become a New York City cop. He worked undercover, rose up through detective. I think he was like working in special narcotics. And then he went back to become first deputy commissioner of corrections, worked his way up to commissioner of corrections, and then became the police commissioner. I think he was more than qualified. I think he did a great job in all of those, by the way. And if you look at Rikers, when he ran Rikers, I mean, it's not even comparable. It's not even comparable. We wouldn't be talking about closing Rikers. The feds wouldn't come in and take federal receivership of Rikers if he was in charge of Rikers Island. Though he did a great job there. I think he did a great job at the NYPD. I think whatever happened afterwards, he was politically targeted because, you know, he got appointed for Homeland Security, Director of Homeland Security. And they went in his past and they found some nonsense and they drummed it up to be much bigger than it really was. And, you know, I think he's, you know, I'm a fan of Bernie Carrick, actually, you know, and a lot of people aren't fans of Rudy Giuliani, but I'm a fan of him too. You know, a lot of people hang on that 0 contract with Rudy Giuliani, and I'm going to say it again. That was the best contract that the PBA's had. They've never had under Pat Lynch. Pat Lynch ran that would never happen again. And after that, when Pat Lynch got in, he never got you a better contract. Than that 0 contract was better than any contract from Pat Lynch or Pat Hendry or anyone, and probably will be going forward because we've been funding our own raises over and over again. So I'm going to say again, that 0 contract that people beat Giuliani up for, You have not had. That was the best contract that the PBA has had. They have not since that time. They've every contract since that time has been significantly worse. But on her, so we're a nation of immigrants. Yes, we are. We're a nation of legal immigrants. My family immigrants, they came here. She acknowledges that, people shouldn't be here committing crimes. That's, political. That's what now Eric Adams is saying, when before he was saying that we should never partner up with the federal government to harm. But I think what I didn't like is where she says, I believe that they all came here for a better life. I believe it. But let me tell you, we don't know. We don't know how many people. We don't know those numbers. We don't know who's here committing crime. I'm a data-driven person. She is a data-driven person. And I'll tell you right now, when the police department says that, they're lying. So this is the first lie I've heard from her. Because it's very simple, Jessica. Yes, we cannot document who was in this country illegally, right? We can't know their immigration status. Huge failure. Why isn't Eric Adams pushing against that? Why aren't you here advocating for that? Police department should know that. You're basically committing a crime. Just the fact of you being here illegally is committing a crime. Now, does that mean that we need to know that and we're going to lock people up because they called 911? No, absolutely not. No cops doing that. Oh, you called 911, you were assaulted, you were robbed. Oh, you're sick. Oh, we're going to deport you. No. It's not. Nobody's doing that. But we should be able to know your immigration status. But she says we don't know. But they do know. It's very simple. What address are these people giving? Oh, they're giving migrant shelters as address. Okay, guess what? It's safe to say that person's more than likely, based upon this, and it's not accurate, but more than likely, based upon these arrest numbers and these arrest locations, we're going based upon the arrest locations. This is the percentage of the amount of people that are here illegally committing crimes based upon the address given by the victim or by the perpetrator. These are here. These are the crimes. These are the amount of crimes we're taking out of these buildings. Like, I would just like to even know that. How many crimes are you just taking out of the building itself? Oh, we don't know? No, you know. We have an idea. Do you know 100%? No. The numbers are skewed, but you'll know.
Well, that's my point, right? This is where you start to see that she's towing the line, because now she says she's a data-driven person, but she's not giving her fundamental opinion and her subjective opinion based on data. At this point, she's giving on what she believes. She's actually now giving you her political beliefs. So her political belief is towing the line with Eric Adams. What she's telling you is that she believes that these illegal aliens have a right, the same right that every other New Yorker has. Now, excuse me. Now, I'm sure there are plenty of people that cross this border because they have no other means, and they come here illegally because they want a better life. I'm sure there are. There's no doubt about it. But the problem is, right now it appears the overwhelming majority have been the spoils of prisons in South America, have come from gangs of Trinidad, and we see it. We have a robbery pattern going on at 42nd Street. We have numerous crimes that are happening in and around the Roosevelt Hotel, which we saw highlighted by Laura Loomer. We see scooters all over the place. We know that illegal aliens, illegal military-age males are committing heinous crimes in New York City. So this is completely subjective based on her political opinion, and this is where I have a problem. And this is her second lie, by the way, John, because when she was honored as going to be the police commissioner, she said in a press conference that crime is at historic lows, and it's lower than pre-pandemic levels. So that's a lie. It's a second lie.
Yep. All right, let's go.
Why we don't know? Because under New York City law, we do not ask immigration status.
Should that change?
So you have no idea. We're hearing rumors of gangs taking over the hotels, at least the Roosevelt Hotel, which, I mean, that was the welcoming center. And you got a president-elect who says he's going to come in here and get rid of that. Will the police department, is it too soon to say, will the police department cooperate with that?
The law is very clear, and the New York City Police Department will always follow the law.
And so in that case, I think one of the questions that people have, the president-elect says he's going to come in here. He wants to carry out these mass deportations. Do you see it as the role of the NYPD to support what ICE or the federal government is doing, or is it more to protect the people who are already involved in this migrant shelter system in the city?
So I said the law is clear. And what the law says is that the city, the police department, doesn't produce documentation for the federal government about undocumented New Yorkers. And I get it. I understand the reason for it. You want all New Yorkers, in particular, your most vulnerable New Yorkers, your newest New Yorkers, to be able to call on city services, to be able to call the police when they're in danger, to be able to send their kids to school. But the mayor has also been very clear that we need to re-examine those laws specifically as they relate to violent repeat offenders.
Technology, that's your background. That's what you did the last time you were at the police department. Any specific ideas about new technology for the NYPD?
You know, I haven't been at the New York City Police Department in 5 years. And when I was there, we went from typewriters to smartphones and body cameras and tablets. But in the past 5 years, so many new opportunities have emerged in the field of tech. What they're doing with drones, very interesting and definitely something that we can and will build on. But also in the past few years, AI has exploded. And I believe there are very smart, thoughtful ways to leverage all of these emerging technologies to help support the women and men of the New York City Police Department.
AI cannot replace a police officer.
Oh, God forbid, absolutely not. But in my career, what I have seen is that technology doesn't do the job, but it can be very useful tools to put in our officers' hands.
We know that you...
Looks like Rosanna Scotto watches the podcast because we talk about it all the time. AI and technology cannot replace the human element of boots-on-the-ground police officers. It is supplemental, a tool, and resource. And it looks like Jessica Tish might watch it too because she said the same thing. So let's go backtrack to what she said here, okay? Again, I believe she's towing the line. I believe there's a lot of politics here. She said that New York City, the NYPD, is going to follow the law. And here's the question. What law are they going to follow? Are they going to follow the law of Sanctuary City, or are they going to follow the federal law of immigration status of working with their federal partners? And she answered that question. You know, kudos to Rosanna Scotto for actually pushing it here and actually trying to get detailed information. And so she says it. So the NYPD is going to continue to follow these Sanctuary City laws. And how does she do that? She also gaslights by saying, well, we don't want them, being afraid, that now that they're new New Yorkers. Well, first of all, they're not new New Yorkers because they're here illegally. So they don't have immigration status. They didn't seek asylum. But since they're here, okay, we do believe people treat them fairly. But as John alluded earlier, it said, we're not going around and locking people up because they called 911. Oh, you're illegal. We're going to come take you. That's not what we're doing. So that's completely gaslighting to give that perception and that's why that law is in place. But when someone commits a crime, their illegal alien status should be something that is exposed to our federal partners, especially potentially if they're part of a robbery pattern and such. If they're out there committing crimes, there's no reason for them to be here. It's a public safety issue to New Yorkers. It's a public safety issue to the entire country. So that's where she starts to pander. She goes and talks about how drones, drones are the future artificial intelligence, but she does recognize the fact that it is a tool and supplemental. She will be innovative and she will go down the path of technology and artificial intelligence. That is her wheelhouse. But I am glad for the fact that she honored it as a tool and supplemental and not replacing boots on the ground.
Well, she said that, so let's see what she does. I like that she said that. I do. I like that she said that it's supplemental. I really do. But let's see what the ideas are going forward. Driver's Seat said, why is the left so concerned about mass deportations? One, I think it's gaslighting. It's fear-mongering. Two, the other thing is just go to what Eric Adams said. He believes all these people should vote. He still does. I put that quote out recently. I put out a video of him talking about it. They actually lost the case. He was full in support. He appealed the case where they wanted illegal immigrants to be able to vote in New York City elections. And I believe they want them to also vote in national elections because they will more than likely overwhelmingly vote Democrat, right? Because the Democrats are bringing them here. They're giving them all this funding. They're giving them more than our retirees or people that are on Social Security, our veterans, our homeless. So more than likely they would vote. They would be able, if they were given the opportunity to vote, which they should never be able given the opportunity to vote. You should have to be a legal citizen of this country to vote either in federal or local elections. But Eric Adams wants them to vote in local elections. So I think that's a big thing. You don't want to lose a voting base, right? You don't want to lose a voting block. I've been doing a lot of research, right? A lot of reading in the background, and I found one thing. If you go back to the mayors, even before the inception of New York City became official, like the 5 boroughs, and then through early 1900s in New York City, the mayors, you know who was a big voting block for the mayors? Who they had to win? The police. The police. They actually, it was such an important voting block that they would actually negotiate. The mayors would negotiate what chart the cops were going to work. That was always an issue from the mayoral elections because there were some charts the cops hated. There were some charts the cops liked. But obviously manpower was always an issue. Crime was always an issue. They would have to appeal. If you wanted to become the mayor in New York City, you have to appeal to the police. Why? Because they all live in the city and they vote for you for mayor. So when I always go back and people get so mad at me when I talk about this, and I don't care because I believe it. I believe you should have to live in New York City. I do. And that is exactly why, because this is why when you say, why don't they care about the cops? Because you don't matter. You don't matter. You're not a vote. Why do they care so much about illegal immigrants and not about cops? Because they might be able to vote. You can't. They don't care about you. It's like, oh, you're going to be mad at me? We're going to piss all the cops off? Doesn't matter. When in the past, when everyone lived in New York City, that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case. And that's why I bring that up. And that's why I always say that. And so that's why they care so much about mass deportations or being deported. They're fear mongering. It builds a camaraderie between them and illegal aliens, right? It keeps them saying, oh, these people are on my side. And if they're ever given the chance to vote, guess who they're going to vote for?
Absolutely. Hey, a shout out to Crazy 10-7. We wish you a happy Thanksgiving. $4.99 to the podcast, coffee and donuts, turkey, baker's dozen. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. The Tish money, the Tish shitstorm. Let's just say the Tish shitstorm will keep this podcast going indefinitely. Raggedy Ann, the ITB crusher. You know what? It's great content. Crazy 10-7. We love you. Thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving. Absolutely. It appears she's an extreme academic, smart, comes from an elite family, billionaire heiress. She seems to say some of the right things, but then we clearly see the politics and her towing the line. So, to me, it looks like it's going to be much of the same. Looks like it's the same horse, different color.
Yeah. Scooch says, Jessica's the perfect complement to Kaz. This administration can't end soon enough. I agree with you. I think this is 516 diecast. You're both awesome. Appreciate you, brother. So all right, let's finish this up and then let's everybody go enjoy our Thanksgiving. Let's end this out.
Sort of help bring in the body-worn cameras, overhauling how some of the crime stats are reported. You mentioned the smartphones. Do you see an expansion of the drone program within the NYPD?
Oh, absolutely. I'm on a big message chain about emergencies in the city with a bunch of different commissioners. At any time there is an emergency, whether a big multi-agency emergency, whether it is a wildfire, a building collapse, you name it, the first eyes that we get on that job is the NYPD drone. And it is so clear, and you have perfect situational awareness. They're incredible tools. They do not replace the hard work of the women and men of the New York City Police Department, but it is a very important tool for us to have in our toolkit.
Are you ready not to sleep? I mean, the police commissioner gets phone calls in the middle of the night during Thanksgiving. I hope it doesn't happen to you this year.
Rosanna, I'm ready for action, always.
you said very clearly that you never walk the beat. You're not a beat cop. There may be members of the rank and file who look and say, I experience things as an officer every day. How can she identify with what I'm dealing with, what I'm trying to do in terms of connecting with the community? What's your message to the rank and file in regard
My
to
message to the rank and file is I've spent my career working for them and supporting them and getting them the tools that they need to do their job. I believe in the nobility of the police because I have seen the nobility of the police up close and personal. And it is my honor and the greatest privilege of my life to be able now to lead them, to take care of them, to support them, and to fight for them.
Thank you, Jessica, Tish, and thank you for working on making our city safe. We appreciate it. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving,
to you and your family. When you do well, we all do well. So
right.
Thank you.
Right.
Listen, it sounds great, right? She said she's not a cop. She owns that again. God bless her. She keeps owning that. But what does she say? She said she's going to stand up for the cops. She's going to show them that she has their back. We've heard that time and time again. And I hope, honestly, because we support the rank and file, I hope she's right. But my question is, if that is the truth, what does that look like? What does that look like, you standing up for the cops, having their back and supporting them? Does that mean that you're going to make sure? Does that mean if the next time Alvin Bragg wants to prosecute one of the cops, are you going to stand up for them? Are you going to publicly say this is absolutely ridiculous? The next time a cop is in a vehicle pursuit, are you going to stand up and say this is something that was advocated by Chief John Schell? Are you going to stand up for the cops when they're facing civil liability? Are you going to stand up for the Juan Perez's, for the Kenny Vittorias, for the Provenzanos? Are you going to stand up for those cops? That's my question. What does that look like? Giving them the tools and the resources. What tools and resources are you giving them? You're giving them technology and artificial intelligence because you believe that's innovative and that's in your wheelhouse. And those are just some of the tools. But the other tools that they also need is they need quality of life, right? That's one of the issues that came up in a recent survey. They need a place to park their car so they're not hounded by, plaquing corruption or other people that are hounding them. They need support when it comes to Civilian Complaint Review Board so they can do intrusive police work. They need support, someone to stand up for them and say, hey, the 58 needs to go because this is putting them and their families at risk. And we see the harmful attacks it is. We need to see this go. So that's my question. If she's going to fight for the police, she's going to fight for the men and women. What does that look like?
Yeah, well, we're going to see it. You know what I mean? We're going to see it. I mean, New York's never going to be, the NYPD is never going to be without its issues, and then, like I said, to paint her as battle tested, it couldn't be further from the truth. But she will be, give her 3 months. She's going to be battle tested and we're going to see how she handles battles. So, yeah, listen, we're going on an hour, 32 minutes. It's Thanksgiving. I'm truly thankful for this community. I'm thankful for all you people, thankful for all the blessings in life. And, thankful for all the times. Thankful for the people that are out there right now, serving our country, serving on the streets of America. And I'm just gonna celebrate, and I hope you guys do the same. I hope everybody's good. And we'll definitely see you out there. Eric, you got any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. God bless you. If you lost a family member this year, honor that family member with your family and honor the good things that you remember about them. Don't be sad. There are people out there right now that are alone. If you see someone out there that's alone, and if they're suffering from mental illness or just suffering, give them something, pay it forward. Give them a couple dollars. Give them some food if you have extra food. I mean, we all make so much food on Thanksgiving and holidays, and we have so much food left over, we throw it out. Take that food and bring it somewhere and give it to other people that need it. Listen, there's veterans out there that need it. The veterans are alone, hurting from PTSD. So support a veteran, support someone out there, pay it forward. It always feels better to support others before you support yourself. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you tomorrow morning for a roundtable. Fun Fridays. Thank you.
All right, guys. Find us Unfiltered, 805 Live. We'll be back at you. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
There's a handful of retired officers that don't live in the state that have a lot to say about the dream team, as I like to call it. All of a sudden, they retire and have a master plan on how to fight crime. but nothing to contribute when they were here. They want to come back and be part of the dream team. What can I say?
Law enforcement professionals dedicate their lives to serving and protecting our community. But who's protecting their financial futures? That's where Laidlaw Blue comes in. Our wealth management platform is specifically designed for the law enforcement community. Laidlaw Blue is a division within Laidlaw Wealth Management, run by retired New York City detective John McDermott. His status as a retired detective uniquely positions him to establish a deep connection between Laidlaw Blue and the law enforcement community. Our platform is easy to use and provides a range of financial services, including investment management, retirement planning, and insurance solutions. With Laidlaw Blue, you can secure your financial future and provide for your loved ones. Our team of experienced financial advisors understands the unique challenges and opportunities that law enforcement professionals face. We're here to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning and achieve your goals. Laidlaw Blue. Secure your financial future today. Book a meeting using the QR code displayed or call us directly on 888 901 Blue. That's 888 901 Blue.